Good morning, everybody. It is 11 o'clock Brussels time. Welcome to our next session within the Fecc Digital Days. I'm glad to moderate this webinar with our member ChemChimp. It's a joint webinar, and I think it's a pretty exciting topic: harness the power of innovation, sustainability, and profitability. Before starting with the webinar, I would like to present Fecc just in a nutshell, who we are. We cover all chemical segments, as you can see here on the slide, all company sizes with a focus on SMEs. And as you can see on the map, we are present almost everywhere. By nature, Fecc chemical distribution, we have all chemical supply chain functions under one umbrella. For example, warehousing, recycling, logistics, packaging, the whole value chain. Yes, now some figures. As Fecc, we stand for more than 30,000 highly qualified jobs. Turnover is around about 28 billion annual sales. Yes, we serve everyone from multinationals to startups, like today's company, ChemChimp, to give just one example. I also would like to draw your attention to our upcoming Congress. It will be again in Sitges, near to Barcelona. You're all invited. Please save the date, 11 to 13 September. The registration will open very soon. Before we start, two housekeeping rules. We abide by competition compliance rules. You see here on the slide, on the left side, the do's, and on the right side, the don'ts. As you know, we don't talk about prices and items like this. The second important point is that it will be an interactive session. We would like to make it as interactive as possible. So please ask your questions by typing it in the box you see here on the right side. But please, one request: pose your questions throughout the presentation and not all at the end, so that we can gather the presentations for a Q&A session at the end. We will have enough time to cover your questions. Without further ado, now I would like to present today's speaker, Tom Schoffelen, General Manager and Co-founder of ChemChimp. He has a high proficiency in establishing, expanding business relationships and creating corporate networks. With a strong focus on operating outside the status quo, Tom has a passion for accelerating new ideologies within existing business models. And I had the pleasure to meet him recently at Logichem 2024 in March, Rotterdam, where he came out as a winner of the famous Logichem Dragon's Den, very, very tough competition. And as a startup, he finally received the award. And yes, we are also very proud as a Fecc member. Yes, was the first in this competition. And again, congratulations, Tom, for this achievement. And now, yes, now we are all exciting to hear your presentation on what's going on at ChemChimp. Tom, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Gerald, for your introduction and kind words. Much appreciated. So, of course, also from my side and from the ChemChimp team side, I'm very grateful to be here, and I welcome everybody here in the audience for being here and spending this hour with me to walk through a bit our vision and what we have achieved so far. So, as the title mentioned, so we focus indeed on harnessing the power of innovation, sustainability, and profitability, and especially from a startup perspective. And please, the next slide, Diana. So today the agenda in a sense is short because I would like indeed to put a lot of focus on what we have achieved. So I'll do a brief introduction where I landscape the market. I talk about the challenges and opportunities. I think most of these things are very familiar to the members of FECC, but I think it's important to highlight because they are an important part behind some of the reasons why we chose to make certain decisions from our company point of view. Then I will talk indeed about ChemChimp, which is sort of the innovation ecosystem from which we intend to launch several solutions into the market. And I think one of those solutions to some of you might be known is called ChemSmog, which is a B2B marketplace for slow and non-moving chemical inventory. And this is at the moment, of course, our leading launch. But I will discuss in a bit more in detail what we have achieved there and what we are proud of. The next one, please, Diana. So as I mentioned, I think the challenges for most of you are known, but I think it's important to keep on highlighting them. I also, when during the plenary sessions of FECC, they were mentioned. I think it's important that we keep a close eye on them. That indeed, when we look at the raw materials, there is a big change ongoing. We see strongly elevated feedstock and energy prices. Supply stabilities are a concern with ongoing events happening across the world. And all in all, this often, unfortunately, goes hand in hand, of course, with the product quality. Then, from a political and geopolitical point of view, of course, there is a big shift ongoing, but I would like to focus, in this case, mostly on Europe, because that is our area of interest. And in Europe, we see a strong deindustrialization, which on one hand, of course, fits very well with the European Green Deal, but of course, threatens some of our business. And the other hand, we see a strong change in the talents that are required to run this current business and especially to run the future business. We are shifting from a labor-intensive workforce to a more digitalized workforce. Of course, that requires different talents and different competencies, and that is a big, I think, an important shift that is ongoing. And all in all, we're facing, of course, the sustainable world, where we are challenged by a very important energy transition that's ongoing. So these are all elements that contribute to the need for new solutions and different points of view. Next one, please. Of course, every time there is a challenge, there is also an opportunity standing sort of hand in hand. And I think that is the drive that also puts us forward to come up with new things. So of course, the change towards a circular economy also gives a lot of promise to new ways of looking into the market. So there is, of course, now a strong need for these circular business models, which did not exist before. So this is also something where I also believe Europe is a strong front runner. And we have a lot of capabilities, a lot of, let's say, deeply integrated networks that will help us achieve these goals. So the energy transition, of course, is highly challenging. And of course, it goes hand in hand with the cost and the energy cost involved. But the good thing, and from my point of view, is that, of course, the chemical demand will increase rapidly because all these new technologies are mostly driven from the chemical sector. So, of course, the change that will happen will have a strong effect as well on our sector. Then, when we look at policies, the Green Deal and the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, of course, cause a lot of, let's say, frustration and problems when it comes to all the legislative part. But it will also help Europe to become more of a united, let's call it powerhouse. And it will create a bit of a sort of protection layer that will put Europe in a strong position to remain competitive on the world market. Next one, please. I think from that point, it's always important to understand what are then the main drivers that will help us move forward into the next years and maybe the next decades, where we as a community can succeed. So I think we have seen often that now data is becoming a completely different measurement, a different milestone. So data as a feedstock for innovation and operational excellence, to understand and to utilize all the knowledge we have floating around our business. So of course the digital integration and the rise of AI helping us to accelerate and improve our business. I think another important driver will be increased transparency, agility, and collaboration for the companies. Of course, transparency is very strongly related to the European Green Deal, where it's all about showcasing the numbers where we stand today and what are the key milestones where we want to end up in the future. I think that transparency will help also startups like us to identify indeed where is the need in the market. Another key driver will be the localization of supply chains, where it will be detrimental to, of course, reduce the length of supply chains. And this will, of course, also strongly in favor of the circular business models. Next one, please. As I mentioned, so now I would like to zoom in, of course, a bit to what we do and what ChemChimp is all about. So ChemChimp is being transformed. So when I was at the CITGES conference last year, I spoke with many of the members and I received valuable feedback. And that feedback made us realize that how we designed ChemChimp was nice, but was not serving the need specifically. So we have spent the last few months sort of redesigning and reiterating the ChemChimp model. And we came up with the idea that creating an ecosystem is a much better fit for what we want to achieve. So now indeed, from the top point of view, we have the company called ChemChimp, which is let's say the mother company that will be the sole provider of several unique solutions into the market. So moving from left to right, of course, we have ChemSmog, which I will discuss in much more detail, which is our solution launched, actively running and ready to be used. And we're very proud of that. Then we are working on what we call the lead site. So this is actually coming from the original ChemChimp idea, but we have decided indeed to provide it as a solution. So we are taking it out and we are preparing to launch this as a separate solution platform, where it is our goal to move from the hide need to the clear need. And if I can give you an analogy, you have to consider that in the chemical industry, it's very similar to what we have in everyday life. So if you have a stomach ache, you go to the doctor, and the doctor will tell you exactly what is the best way to treat your pain in that case. And in the chemical processes, we have very similar situations where people have a certain issue, but they are not 100% sure on how to solve that. And that is something where we are at the moment beta testing with some of our trusted partners. And we have some very interesting leads. And hopefully I cannot give too many promises, but maybe by end of this year or beginning of next year, we will be having a first platform online where we can showcase this concept. And then the third one, we are it's related to the other two. So we are already preparing some work on the side, is what we call the facilitator platform. So we indeed see that there is a lot of need for facilitation through several business models. And we are building something very interesting there as well. I think one of our key learnings that we have taken is that the inter-platform communication will be a strong driver for success. It's related, of course, to the data as a feedstock, because we will be able to take all the knowledge from the different parts of the ecosystem and combine them, and therefore accelerate certain decision making or accelerate certain connection making between members that have a certain need. Next one, please. So now, I'm very proud to move on to ChemSmog. So for those of you who know me, let's say since the beginning, in a sense of since CITGES, ChemSmog was a sort of a substructure of ChemChimp and was not really standing alone, and the logo was sort of made on the spot. And beginning of this year, we indeed saw that there is a strong need to develop this platform stronger, and we also did a rebranding. So we are very proud to also share our new logo and our new sort of name, in a sense of how the font is designed. And for those of you who are not aware, ChemSmog is a B2B marketplace for preventing chemical disposal. And I will explain now in more detail. So next one, please. So I would like to emphasize a bit on the logo, because on one hand, of course, the logo is an important feature, but for us, it was an important choice behind the logo. So together with the company that assisted us, we came with the decision to start from the Phoenix. And as many of you know, the Phoenix is the classical symbol for rebirth and renewal and new life. And we asked them to incorporate this effect of the Phoenix, the structure of the Phoenix, into our new logo, because we feel deeply connected with this mission to give a second life to chemical materials. Indeed, with the sole purpose to reduce the chemicals being wasted that still have an interesting value for the market. Next one. So that was a bit the introduction about the renaming, the logo and everything behind. And now I want to indeed zoom in on ChemSmog as such. So what we are a sustainable solution for chemical stocks with a mission to promote sustainability in the industry, increase profitability and reduce waste, and of course their associated cost for the people involved, and encourage commercial collaboration. Because we do believe that the collaboration, the power of the many, will be one of the key drivers for success. So ChemSmog as such is designed as an easy access B2B marketplace, where it's the sole purpose of selling these slow and non-moving chemical inventory. So a very niche market as such, but given the size of the chemical industry, niche in chemical industries doesn't mean that it's really small. Just as a brief introduction, the materials we normally handle are materials close to expiration, even expire, out of specification for the application, in excess raw materials when companies run on batch production. And we are currently focusing also on how to incorporate secondary raw materials. So when you look at the waste disposal companies now putting, of course, more effort to make sure products move back into the original supply chain, these secondary raw materials often need also different treatment than classical fresh materials. Next one. So as I mentioned, as a company and as a platform, we are very young. And on one hand, that is something I think also to be proud of. So we launched the platform in January 2023. And the impact we had so far is that we have prevented approximately 100, we are now a bit higher, so let's say around 100 tons of CO2 emissions. And we sold more than 120 tons of chemical products. So indeed, we have a very strong proof of concept that is currently being expanded. And the progress we have made is that we have found clients already across 12 different countries and across 3 regions. And that for us shows the importance of growing the network and the intent to actually move this forward. And I think indeed as a proud point of view is that we have created a pioneering concept when we look at it from a digital point of view. And we see a very strong market traction. Next one, please. So in brief, what is the solution we bring to the market? So we have created this digital platform to upgrade these slow and non-moving inventory into sustainable advantage products. And we do this in a very, very unique way. So we have a very strongly driven, data-driven approach, where we actually look at the chemical functionality and beyond the original application. So we see where this chemical can be used regardless of where it is coming from. So if we have a client that is, for instance, sitting in a resin industry, we are not going to focus solely on resin. We will look at all industries that can use specifically that chemical. And therefore, we move across market segments and we try to eliminate as much as possible geographical boundaries because it will accelerate the chance of selling. And by doing so, we will create value for the material owner by valorizing this waste, saving on CO2 emissions, and by monetizing rather than disposing. And of course, this is strongly correlated to the European Green Deal, where it is our common goal to reduce the amount of products being wasted, to make sure that we optimize resource efficiency, that materials that have been either produced or purchased are being utilized, let's say, to the fullest extent, and that we try to keep materials as long as possible in the value chain. Next one, please. So from a business case point of view, because for us that is very important, because the wording is one part, but it's always important to understand where does the idea come from and why is this for us such an important feature. So on the left, we see sort of the classical unfortunate disposal route. So you have in blue, you have the inventory cost. And that is, of course, depending on where you sit in the value chain. That can be either your production cost. It can involve the cost of purchasing a material. There is, of course, cost involved to keep it in warehousing. So the daily cost of that. And then as a sort of a punch on top comes your disposal cost, which depending, of course, on the chemistry can be quite significant. So what we provide as ChemSmog as a solution is that, yeah, the blue part we cannot touch because the cost you have made to purchase or to store the material, that of course will always remain. Our goal is to prevent the disposal cost and to give you let's say a sales revenue, to generate a bit of cash flow that will of course also reduce a bit of the original cost and yeah, to make sure that you don't have only cost on top of cost. So we assist in the prevention of these disposal costs while gaining a cash flow through the sale and reducing the overall financial impact of the inventory. But I think a very important feature is that we prevent end-of-life emissions by extending the supply chain and therefore reducing the environmental impact of these materials. Next one. Given the status where we are and that we are now a bit more than 1 year old, and I think also given the audience, I would like to, of course, showcase these concepts with some case studies. So from actual materials that we have sold over the course of last year. So here we have an inventory that was located at a local distributor in the north of Italy, which was sodium bromide. As you can see, it was around 37,500 kilos stored in IBC, as is indicated by the picture. And when we talk about challenges, of course, here you see that we have a large volume, which we have to try to move outside the existing seller network because they did not manage to move it to their clients. So we have to look for clients outside their original reach. The product was expired, not very long, but unfortunately it was expired. So the expiration dates ranged from 2021 to 2022. And when it comes to biocides, there are very strict regulations, which we learned in let's say, along the process. And that for us was also a very important learning. Next one, please. So when we look at the solution, of course, you will see the first sentence coming back more often because this is indeed our key message. So we scout for potential clients through collaboration, our internal network, and database analysis. Then, in this specific case, we work together with the original producer of the material to make sure we have all the documentation in place that is required to move these kinds of products. And for those familiar in the industry, when it comes to compounds like biocides, an Article 95 document is required from the original producer before you're allowed to move the product. On top of that, since the material was expired, we sent samples for in-house testing to potential buyers. And I think this is something where we show that the importance of ChemSmog indeed is to increase this collaboration. We want to make sure that both parties are happy. And this is not just a classical sales transaction where we don't care what happens. So we know that companies buying through the platform will have to buy the product as is, because these are materials in this very niche application of slow and non-moving. So we want to make sure that the client is as comfortable as possible. And in this case, we sent them samples for in-house testing for their sort of internal approval to move forward. And in this first case, we successfully sold the entire inventory across 2 buyers in the end. So 12,500 kilos went to a buyer in Spain through Incoterm DAP. And 20,000 kilos we sold to a buyer in the end in Italy. So this was a buyer that they did not identify before, and we managed to identify on their behalf. And that company went to pick up the material, given the logistic chain was much shorter. I think also here it's important to showcase, that's why I also mentioned the Incoterms, because also here it's about the agility and working together, because it's all the benefit, because now we don't have to throw away 37,500 kilos of product. And I think that is the bottom line goal, I think, of us as an industry, as a community together. So also here we reduce the financial impact by selling the inventory rather than disposing. We improve the environmental footprint of this distributor by extending the supply chain and therefore preventing the end-of-life emissions. Next one, please. So in the second case, it was an inventory actually located at a company, so much further down the value chain in the south of Italy. And it was a butyl glycol stored in, as you can see, 200-liter drums. The total volume was around 7,500 kilos. Here, the biggest challenge was that the batch was very old. So it was a batch of 2014, stored very well, as is indicated by the imagery. But yeah, I think in conclusion, we can say it was very old. And there was also a lack of documentation due to changing in ownership of the actual facility. And then, of course, it's not something very easy to overcome. Next one, please. Diana? One back, sorry. Yes, thank you. So also here, of course, it was our goal to scout for these potential clients, looking at all, of course, our network and analyzing again what is available and who can use these kind of materials. And since this was a very unique case where there was a lack, especially on the side of certificates of analysis, we collaborated with SGS to start building up again the required document, not only from a perspective of moving the product, but of course also to make sure that the buyer is aware of what is actually the status of the material. I think this is also for us, let's say, also an important learning, because selling something as is sounds very straightforward. Because when you go to buy a second-hand car, you have to accept the car as it is. You know, you drive it around the corner. If something breaks, let's say you have to. That's the way it is. So from a B2C point of view, the market is much more ready from these kind of points of view. We have a lot of second-hand kind of concepts running. B2B, of course, is a much more delicate business. You don't want to end up that the buyer has a process issue or anything else, or maybe he will move it towards one of his clients. So we have to be much more delicate. And this for us was a very important learning. Of course, the selling will remain as it is, but the quantification and the qualification of the material is a very important feature. And we have also changed our internal procedures to accommodate that, where we put a significant higher amount of effort to really understand, what do we know about the material and what are the potential pitfalls that we can identify, and how can we prevent those from giving problems to our buyer. Well, in conclusion, we managed to successfully sell the inventory to a client overseas. I think here the overseas part for us is important to emphasize that although our initial reach will always be trying to keep it as close as possible to the site, at some point in time you have to extend your reach. And this material indeed went overseas, so we also had to go through the entire exporting part of the goods, which in the end was a bit of a hassle, but we managed. So also in this case, the sentence will be the same, because it's important for us to emphasize on this effect is that we reduce the financial impact for the owner, and we extended the supply chain and therefore preventing the end-of-life emissions. Next one, please. So our third case study is with one of our, I think, one of the early believers in our concept, which is Fecc Química, which is a company located in Portugal. They have been with us almost from the beginning of our journey. They have given us valuable feedback, and they have helped us a lot. Of course, on one hand, providing us with the materials, but also helping us to grow and to understand better what are the features that need to be improved and worked upon. So in their case, there were two products that we sold in a single shot. So the sodium sulfite hydrate and a sodium metabisulfate, with the volumes as mentioned, so around 3,700 kilos and 6,500 kilos, and in this case in bags, which often makes it a bit more tricky when it comes to transport. So also in this case, the products were expired, and we had to make sure that there were all the documentation ready for intercontinental shipping. Next one, please. So also in this case, the solution, this will always involve our scouting, our looking for collaborators, looking into our network and analyzing the product as such and finding new applications. Together with Fecc Chimica, we prepared all the material documentation required to move the products. And I think that was indeed a very interesting process where together we had to indeed set up things and understand what are the requirements and how to move this forward. And this was our first case where we indeed looked into the potential for multi-product sale. So from their portfolio of products, we try to sort of group them and understand if there are companies that are buying similar product families. And this for us was a very important success story. So we sold both products to a single customer. So we managed to identify a company that was utilizing the very similar products that were in the portfolio of Fecc. And that for us, of course, is a change in the feature where indeed you look from a chemical family point of view and you start identifying companies. So that for us was a very big achievement. And again, thanks also to Fecc for their trust and their assistance and also helping us from the material side, because they also helped us discuss with the buyer, given their knowledge on application and the potential effect of the product being expired. There was a strong collaboration, and it was a very interesting moment. Of course, also in this case, we managed to reduce the financial impact and of course extend the supply chain. So that this is a very important feature, and this leads me to, because these are always the case studies, and what is important, that what we have learned in time is that there is a big part of related to education of the market, which we're trying to tackle along the way. And the other part is, of course, to keep your existing clients engaged. So if we can move to the next slide. So as a company, we came with the following idea. So although we are very small, you have to start somewhere. So what we decided is to make what we call the Sustainability Impact Award. And this is, at this moment, indeed, it's just a paper. But this is something we present really with a lot of gratitude towards the companies that work with us, because this is something that will also for them will showcase that the effort we're putting, we want to, of course, put numbers behind. So we presented to Fecc Chimica last year this award, because they prevented around 10,000 kilos of CO2 emissions by selling. In total, we sold 12,500 kilograms of their product. So even a bit more than the two products we have showcased before let's say in the span of 2023. And we believe that this is an important feature moving forward, because we can always say, you've sold and everybody's happy. But in general, we have to make sure that the community feels engaged and feels part of this movement to change the way we see inventory management in the industry. And for us, this was something we also worked on along the way, and we are very proud to have now this new version of the Sustainability Impact Award with our new branding, which is indeed presented to people through the name of ChemChimp, which is part of the ChemChimp ecosystem. Next one, please. So we're nearing the end of my presentation, and here, of course, I have to do a little bit of the commercial part, where for us it's important that hopefully I inspire you as a FECC member or as an external party following the webinar to look or to at least have interest in these kind of new opportunities coming from the market. So it is our sort of goal to have people join us to change inventory management in the chemical industry. And I think we have proven also with the case studies that the collaboration is really a key to success for all of us. Then what we do, I think this is a very important feature to mention, because there is a lot of pressure when it comes to digital channels for the chemical industry, because several of them have failed. So we are a bit in a cloudy area, and people see it a bit as a negative solution. So what we have decided is that we don't run on any kind of subscription or anything else. We run on the so-called no cure, no pay approach, because we believe that it's a common goal to move this concept forward, and it should not be something that it should be a win-win situation in that sense. I think another important feature that I would like to emphasize is that we see ourselves really as one of the solutions to the omni-channel, because I think in conclusion we can clearly state that there will not be a golden solution for all the challenges we are facing when it either comes to deindustrialization, the energy transition, or all the increase in legislation, there will not be one golden solution for everything. So I think as a market, we have to be ready to have a large portfolio of solutions that will be dedicated to certain needs. And we have seen that our approach does not cannibalize existing business because it's solemnly focused on these slow and non-moving inventory. In addition, we have some evidence that it does work as a door opener. Since we are moving the products, there is a big chance that maybe somebody buying has heard of your name, but has never really taken the opportunity to test your materials. So we have one case indeed where a material was bought and the new owner was very, very pleased with the performance, and he asked us for more, but of course we don't have more. So we put them directly in contact with the vendor, and they set up a long-term business agreement for that specific material. So there is more than just selling the slow and non-moving inventory. It can be really seen as an opportunity to showcase your materials, either maybe even in different segments of the market. So in conclusion, to our digital platform, where we put a lot of effort in verifying the users, you can purchase materials uploaded by the vendors. It's a cash and carry mechanism, so which will ensure the transaction transparency. And we tried, of course, to move as much as possible across market segments, because I think I've indicated that also with the case studies. This is where we see a lot of opportunity to increase the flexibility and to improve the chance of success of selling the material. Next one, please. So strategically, where do we stand? So now we are around roughly 1 year and 4 months old as a company. So our ambition is to remain the first mover in this specific market gap that we have identified. So in doing so, we need to partner with key industry stakeholders to scale the concept, because as you have seen, we have the proof of concept is there. We have sold material, we have sold difficult materials, we have sold materials also, let's say, further away. So the proof is there. What is now important for us is to collaborate and to start scaling, to accelerate market acceptance. As I indicated several times, the B2B market in general, and more specifically the chemical industry, is not 100% ready yet for this kind of approach. And it's fully understandable, because the processes we run are highly delicate and cannot be interrupted by buying something, let's say, at an opportunistic price. So the market acceptance is a very important step that we have to work on. And this market acceptance will go hand in hand with trust and credibility. And to build this trust and credibility, we will rely heavily on the support of the companies that are in the market, of you that are helping us to build our name and to give trust from your name to your clients. Then we have to grow the network, because the bigger the network, of course, the higher the possibility for us to find a place to put your material. So we have to engage the players in the value chain, and they're all mentioned there, all the way from, let's say, the producer side all the way to the end users. Then we would like to increase our footprint, focusing on Europe, because Europe, I think, is a clear front runner when it comes to the transition, and also a clear area where there is a strong need to develop these kind of features, where we have to make sure that the resources we have used to produce materials have to be utilized to the fullest extent. And of course, once this has been established, we will look into growing this concept into other regions of the world. So we will keep on assisting company owners improving their brand value. So I think this is an important feature, because we have talked about cost and CO2 emission reductions, but the important feature we're seeing is that we're living in a world where the brand will be a much more important feature than the actual turnover of the company. So we want to help companies in that case with this solution to improve their brand value, reducing their environmental impact, and of course, lowering their costs of their slow and non-moving chemical inventory. So I think we are a unique digital sales channel, and we want to remain that as well. And we want to expand the customer pool and drive value creation, because that is, I think, the one key element that will help us establish, of course, a strong network and a fruitful business in that sense. And by doing so, we also manage to enhance market penetration, because with the data analysis that we do, we target all sizes of companies. Next one, please. as Gerard mentioned in the introduction, I put this slide because we are indeed very proud. So the ambition we have indeed has not gone unnoticed. So this year at Logicamp 2024, we won the Dragon's Den contest, where indeed we start to see that there is more appreciation for our concept and our thinking and the solution that we are putting into the market. So also, of course, from my end, we are indeed very proud. Given the age and the effort we're putting, this is indeed an important point for us to showcase where we are, and also to see that the market is indeed interested in what we're trying to provide. Next one. So you see 50% of the team, so that makes it very easy. For those of you who are really following me desperately, you have seen that we have started a hiring process, so we are going to grow the team. But at the moment, we are with the two of us. So it's myself on the left, general manager, responsible for all the daily business, and then my colleague, Domenico Ascione. He leads all the sales, more than 20 years of experience in the specialty chemical industry. Brings a huge network and a lot of experience that is helping us really grow this concept and move it to the next phase. Next one. So I would like to end, and I think it's a bit unique. So instead of ending on a summary, I would like to end on a call to action. So because this opportunity for me to speak in front of the RVC members and all the people that are interested and that saw the announcement on LinkedIn and other social media, I ask you to join us because I think jointly we can transform the industry and make it viable for the future. So we are really seeking all the members of the value chain eager to embrace this challenge with us. And we are specifically looking for leading industry partners to help us scale the concept and increase that so well needed market acceptance, because it's the leading industry partners that have their brand out there, that with their support you create a sort of a cloud of trust where for the smaller companies to take sort of this leap of faith will be a greatly reduced risk. And that is, I think, at least from our point of view, that will be an amazing step forward. So I ask you all to join us to valorize the chemical inventory that is standing across Europe and to utilize these chemicals in a more profound way. Next slide. And the only thing that remains from my end, of course, is to thank you all for your time. Thank you all for listening to me. And I'm looking very much forward to connect with many of you, hoping that you will reach out to me or I will find you on my own, don't worry. I think our motto speaks for itself. So we believe that ChemSmog is where chemistry is an opportunity. The chemicals will always remain of value for us. Thank you, and that was it from my side.
Yes, Tom, thank you very much for your inspiring presentation and all the insights into your cutting-edge solution. I think it's pretty unique, your approach, and I personally like very much the idea of Phoenix, eternal rebirth, and to see this then next to our logo, the FCC logo. This is really inspiring. In the meantime, we have received a couple of questions, so be prepared. I will read them out now. The first, maybe also the most interesting one, is that the question: how does ChemSmog, the B2B marketplace for slow and non-moving chemical inventory, work more in detail? What are the key benefits?
So when we talk about how it works, in the end, it's a very straightforward internet platform, like many that we use in our daily life. So you can see it as an Amazon. So we put the products for sale, in a sense that they are visible for sale. And then indeed, if somebody is interested, they can literally buy as an Amazon. There is a cart that you can add, and you can close your purchase. Of course, that is something that will work in the future once you have a very deeply developed network. At the moment, we're doing a lot of active sales. So we take the product from the vendor, and we are the ones actually scouting for potential users, reaching out and trying to convince companies to give it a shot. So that is how it at the moment works from the platform point of view. Really, when we talk about details, how the individual steps work, I would love to give I would love to reach out to the person asking the question, because of course there is much more involved. There are a lot of steps involved when it comes to the original qualification. Not only, as we mentioned, we verify both ends, so we verify both vendors and buyers, and that for us is a very important step. And during that verification of the potential vendor, we also show, let's say, all the individual steps that are involved of how the product moves, and how we handle, let's say, the business in that case. I hope this answer suffices, because I don't know how many questions there are, so I don't want to occupy all the space on this. But we have a very strong protocol that has been sort of worked on during the last year, and we did this together with our partners. And I think now we are at a phase where we are comfortable with the protocol we have in place, that it works and it also protects the users. So I think that will always remain a very important feature for us.
Thanks a lot. No, I think it's really was a clear answer, and we can move to the next one. How does ChemChimp's solution differ from other solutions available in the market?
So yeah, thank you for the question. So I had a simpler one logic. So indeed, when we look into the market, there are indeed localized companies that purchase excess materials from often on the producer end, but they're very localized, and they buy specifically for sort of their client database, for their client network. What we are offering indeed is a digital solution, which we know currently in Europe we don't have any clear competitor. We are very different, because I know there are digital platforms. I don't want to mention too many names, but let's say the other digital platforms that are out there, they focus mainly on selling fresh. So selling fresh materials, they're helping producers and distributors move into the market by gaining more market, let's say market space. But we are not in the business of becoming a new distributor or selling fresh material. It's purely focused on the slow and non-moving inventory. As far as we know, there is nobody doing specifically this, and that puts us in this unique niche. In this presentation, this was not really a marketing pitch. So what we have seen is that we believe there is around a 640 million euro market attainable when we talk about numbers. So for those that are interested, we have a separate presentation on that. But just to give you a highlight, it is still a significant volume market that is, and this is all based on discussions we did with our current clients attached. So because they have to sort of release a bit their internal numbers for us to make the estimation, but the market could even be larger.
Thank you, Tom, for this exhaustive answer. In your presentation, this one of the participants refers to your last slide, in which you say, jointly we can transform our sector. Concretely, how can we in the chemical distribution sector foster collaboration across the value chain, according to you?
So indeed, this is an important question, and this comes a bit from our, let's say, hope and dreams. In short, of course, the distributor is always a very important key element within the industry, and the distributor holds two important branches. They are attached to the producers, where they have created a line of trust, and of course, they have their own network. And in doing so, they have their name. And in collaboration, we might be able to come in touch with their suppliers, because of course there is no conflict there. If by helping us establish this level of trust, we can come into contact with suppliers that might have this issue, having these chemicals standing that are not moving, everybody will start to get engaged. And once we have more and more people engaged, it will be first of all, it will be more accepted, but it will also be easier to move the products, because you can imagine now we have around 30 to 40 companies connected, and then we have a network of around 100 companies that are in sort of our first scope of approach. But you can imagine if you move from 100 to maybe 5,000, of course, the chance that somebody says, hey, I'm interested in that chemical, let's talk, is much higher. It's a very simple extrapolation. And there we believe that the distribution, that's why I'm also so proud to be part of the FECC as a company, because we believe that the distributors are really a key element. When you look at it from an industry perspective, they have indeed those two branches. They see the top end and they see, of course, all the end users. So that puts them in a very unique and strong position. And we're not asking them to give us their client list. What we're asking indeed is, first of all, if they have already products that are causing them headaches, that would be great. But if they can help us to create the name, to say, guys, this is a solution that is indeed helping us as an industry. This is not something because we want to achieve this kind of common trust. And we strongly believe that the distributors hold a key position there with their network, distributed, strongly established names. And of course, they took years and years to build this network and trust. And I am afraid that we don't have that time. So in order to accelerate to this transition, we have to we need the help of others.
Yes, indeed, we have to accelerate. And as you said, we are now in the fast track to the future. And you as a first mover, you know very, very well. In this context, there is the regulation on sustainability reporting, the reporting directive. And how do you link your solution to sustainability at large and to the SDGs in particular?
Yeah, thank you, Gerhard. So that is something we are currently investigating, because you can imagine at startup you can only do so many things. We are now partnering with a company that is their key focus is doing life cycle analysis, and they're actually helping us I think we will select one or two of the existing case studies we have where we sold products to indeed really get the numbers behind. What is the impact we have generated by extending the life chain instead of disposing, to really get the raw data behind that will support the model. Of course, this is something that nowadays is still difficult because LCA analysis is, it's picking up. Let's say the need is very high, and the companies doing so are also still struggling with all the changing legislation and everything. But I think it's important. That's why we're already starting now to talk with them and to do a first case, because this will indeed be a future feature from our point of view. So that on the platform, once you have sold the material, we are able to roll out, let's say, the numbers that you can use as a company in your internal processing of your numbers in the end. Because we are purely an intermediary. We will not buy the product and store it on your behalf. We purely do the facilitating part. So the product will remain at your location, and then once we sell it, move directly to the client. So it will be that company that is, of course, responsible for the emission reporting. So we would like to come to the point that once the deal is closed, that we can almost automatically, or at least with the increase in data transparency, generate the number saying, okay, we extended the life chain, this is your new number, and instead of the disposal route, which would have been this number. So companies can actively use this information to also showcase the benefit of using such a solution. I think that is important. That's why I say it's also the omni-channel. It will be a series of solutions where we all have to work together to find the optimum.
Oh, okay, it sounds really forward-looking, and thinking, of course, it still has to then make the proof of the pudding is in the eating, as the British say, and but from the I think from the system construction, I mean, it looks really something unique and covering all relevant aspects. Yes, Tom, many thanks to you as one of our most distinguished speakers. And now I would like to wrap it up without making a summary, of course, because you touched upon so many points No, really, it was insightful, at least for me, and I think for most of the participants. And in this context, I also would like to thank all those who participated, especially those asking questions. I would like to thank Diana for the preparation, the smooth running of the webinar, and the technical support. The presentation will be shared after the webinar. And then I would like to highlight that the next and last session of the FCC Digital Days is scheduled for this afternoon at 2 o'clock Brussels time. And with this, I give you some minutes back for your lunch break and wish you a nice afternoon. Stay safe and see you soon. Bye-bye.